Right now filming this, it is the 19th of May, which means that we are coming to the end of the 2025 Cannes Film Festival. My name is Sarah Ellen, and I want to go back through some of the winners of the Palme d'Or, the most coveted prize at Cannes from the last 20 years. The Cannes Film Festival, as it's known as the Cannes Film Festival, has only actually been around since 2003. Previously, it was known as the International Film Festival. It was founded in 1946, however, I was also finding some dates saying that it was founded in 1939, so if anyone knows why that is, please let me know. The festival is invitation only. It is part of the big three of European festivals, up there with Venice and Berlin. However, in the international world, it is part of the big five, which is Cannes, Venice, Berlin, Sundance, and Toronto, I think. Toronto. Every year, the Cannes Film Festival is an incredibly big cultural event. Even outside of the film world, people wait and watch the carpets just to see the outfits that come out. I'm one of those people, so I know. Quick note on the fashion, this year, only the day before the festival started, they actually changed the rules on what was allowed on the carpet, saying that no long trains or any outfits that blocked views of films were allowed, which, while I think is a really great rule, I do think it was a bit insane to implement it only a day before the festival actually began, because there's poor stylists who spent so long putting those outfits together only to have to say, oh, never mind. However, as with most things, a lot of celebrities didn't actually listen and showed up with ginormous trains anyway, one of them being Heidi Klum. Her dress was insane, beautiful, humongous. How did she get that passed? How did she get that in? Cannes Film Festival is also home to one of the industry's most coveted awards, the Palme d'Or. The Palme d'Or was first given out in 1955. The Palme d'Or actually replaced the Grand Prix, which again replaced the Palme d'Or in 1964. However, the Palme d'Or was reintroduced in 1975 and has been consistently given out since then. Today I want to talk a little bit about films that have won the Palme d'Or in the last 20 years, specifically the winner from 2021, 2015, 2010, 2005. I chose to go back in increments of 5 as it is 2025 and the winner has not been announced yet. However, I did have to jump to 2021 as, for obvious reasons, there is no 2020 Palme d'Or winner as there was no festival held in 2020. The 2021 winner of the Palme d'Or is Titane, directed by Juliette Ducournau. It is a body horror thriller, very odd, I would say quite disturbing film. It had a budget of 5 to 7 million. I was finding very different figures on that. Most of them fell in between the 5.5 to 6 range or the 6 to 7 range. So I've sort of placed it around probably 6-ish million. However, at the box office, it only grossed around 5 million. So if it is a budget of about 6 million, that is a loss of €1 million. Ducournau is known for these sort of body horror, disturbing type of films. She's also very, very well known for the film Raw. That movie, oh my god. Genuinely traumatizing story. Titane follows Alexia as she develops intimate relationships with cars. The film opens with her in the car with her father. She removes her seatbelt and her father turns around to sort of tell her to put it back on, and this results in a car crash. Alexia then needs to have a titanium plate put into her head. Upon getting out of the hospital, she completely ignores her parents and embraces the car just wholeheartedly. We then jump to the future and we see that Alexia is now a model in a car show. I don't know how to say this without spoiling it all, but I'm gonna say it anyway. So, spoilers ahead. It's in this scene where Alexia kills her first victim because within the story she is also a serial killer. A male fan forcibly kisses her and she kills him. Oh well. She then goes back to the showroom that she was previously modelling in after the shower and sees that one of the Cadillacs that she was modelling on has turned itself on. You know, metaphors. And she does it. And she enjoys it. The movie progresses and gets even more graphic and even more violent. Guardian said that this film does not have the same style and sympathy as Raw. Personally, I saw no style or sympathy in Raw, so this movie genuinely traumatized me. I'm being very vague about it because obviously I don't know what I can say that's actually allowed on the internet, but also I really don't want to spoil this film because it's something that when you hear it you won't want to watch it. So if you are interested in body horror in any way, Highly recommend this film. It's very heavy on body horror. It is all of that. That's all it is. You want to be okay with the physical body being disturbed. That's all I'll say, really. If you're sensitive to anything, do not watch this film. Do not watch this film. Genuinely, it is very sexual, very violent. And while that is okay for some people, I am not one of those people. I personally didn't enjoy Titane. I thought it was very interesting. I thought it looked fabulous. The bits that I watched, but because I did not, I was not able to watch all of that movie. However, if you are interested in watching this movie, it is 1 hour and 48 minutes. The language is in French, however you can get it with English subtitles. It is available for purchase on Apple TV. It's not available for streaming anywhere that I could see, or at least not anywhere where I am. However, if it's on your Netflix or Amazon, I would go ahead and watch it. I think it was available on Amazon Prime for a little while, but it isn't anymore. 2015 Palme d'Or is a film called Titane. This film follows 3 refugees who are fleeing the Sri Lankan civil war and are aiming for Paris, France. This film follows a man called Savad Hassan, and he is fighting in the Sri Lankan civil war. Once the conflict is over and his side has lost, he needs to find a way to get political asylum in another country, as he is now a refugee. He is given the passport of a man who is dead, Titane, and to basically make his story believable as to why he requires political asylum and that he is not on the losing side of this war, he constructs a family with his supposed wife, Yamil, and a 9-year-old girl. And the 3 of them basically make their way to France. However, where they move isn't what they wanted it to be. It sort of mirrors the conflict that they were facing in Sri Lanka. They land in a part of France that is rife with gangs and violence and drug use. They sort of get pulled into the fold of it. He is a caretaker and she winds up, the wife, taking care of a drug lord's father. One of the big scenes in the film is him, major spoilers ahead, is him wiping out a whole gang with just a handgun, a machete, and a screwdriver. Something I think is very, very, very interesting about this movie is that the thought process behind it was that the director wanted to make a film about a group of people that were not really known much to the French public, so he landed on the Tamils. And upon making the film about a former child soldier, a member of the Tamil Tigers, during casting, the person they cast to play our main character, Savid Hassan, is called, and I have his name here, and I'm going to write it on the screen because I am very, very scared of butchering this, Anthony Tassan, Jesus Tassan, is also a former child soldier. So he was able to take a lot of that experience he had and put it toward the character. And I think that that is just incredibly interesting and such a note to the production on how they were able to make this film. The budget for this film was $8 million, which does mean it had a $3.1 million loss. Internationally, the film grossed about $4.8 million. However, I will say about 3.8 of that was in France. So it wasn't very well received internationally. However, I think a point of that might be because the language it's in is France and Tamil. It was never fully translated to English. However, again, you can get this with English subtitles. It runs for just under 2 hours at 115 minutes. If you'd like to watch it, it's available on Amazon Prime with streaming, and I'm sure you can purchase it on Amazon if you do not have Amazon Prime. The 2010 winner, it's called Uncle Boomee Who Can Recall His Past Lives. This film follows a man who is dying of kidney failure in the northeast of Thailand. Throughout the film, he begins to see ghosts and other apparitions. It's the final installment of an art series called Primitive. I actually don't know much about this film, as everything I was finding was honestly very, very confusing, and I actually myself have not seen it. I could not find this movie anywhere at all. I could not find any means of streaming it on any platform, and now while I'm pretty sure that is just because of where I'm located, I'm sure it's available for streaming elsewhere, I actually don't know. However, from what I've seen, the stills of this film are incredibly beautiful, and I also think it's very interesting that this movie used mostly amateur actors and was shot entirely on location. So everything you see in the movie is an actual place. There's no sets, there's no stylizing, there's no reconstruction, which I think gives it a lot more realness and a very raw feeling, which lacks in a lot of movies, I think, nowadays. Films like this where they use more amateur actors, very independent, feel a lot more like you're a part of the process, you're a part of the film. This film was shot on 16mm film, however it was converted to 35mm for theatrical distribution. It premiered in Cannes in the May, however it didn't come out in Thailand until the 25th of June. It's only in Thai and Isan, which is another language in the northeast region of Thailand. Another reason why this film was able to be so unconventional and almost impressionistic with its approach is it was only on a budget of 700,000, which I think lower budget independent films tend to have a more eclectic, interesting view, honestly. It runs for an hour and 55 minutes, and the most I could find on where to get this film was to purchase it on Apple TV. However, I don't have Apple TV, so if anyone knows any way to stream it or to purchase it outside of Apple TV, please let me know. I would love, love, love to see this film. In 2005, only 2 years after the rebrand to the Cannes Film Festival from the International Film Festival, a Belgian film won, and it is called L'Enfant, or The Child in English. I only specify that it was called The Child in English because it was released under that name in England. However, it was released under L'Enfant in France and the US. This movie is a very, very simple story about 20-year-old Bruno and 18-year-old Sonia. Sonia is surviving on welfare checks, whereas Bruno is surviving on petty crime. The two have a child, L'Enfant. As Sonia is in the hospital, Bruno takes the child and gives it up for adoption in an illegal adoption agency. This destroys Sonia, breaks her heart, and the film sort of follows him getting the child back. Something I personally really enjoyed about this movie is while it's not a film that everyone can relate to per se, as in you won't see yourself in the main characters, however, you will be able to recognize the story within your own life. This movie could take place anywhere. It happens to take place in Belgium, however, this exact story could happen in Dublin. It could happen in London, it could happen in New York, it could happen in my town. And I think that films like that are incredibly special. Films that have a simple premise, they may be sad, happy, funny, dramatic. This particular film is quite sad. They sort of exist not only in film but in reality. This movie is real. This movie has happened to people, is happening to people, and will happen to people. I love films like that. I love films that reflect reality. Even if it's not my reality, I can recognize that this is a part of the world and I can really appreciate that. This film was directed, written and produced by the Titane brothers. They are a Belgian directing duo, similar, they're like the Belgian version of the Coen brothers, if you will. They won the Palme d'Or, the Cannes Film Festival, for this, but they also won Best Director at the Toronto Film Festival, which I will say, those two awards for a movie with a budget of only 3.6 million euros is incredibly impressive. The language for this film is French. It has never been translated to English. However, I did watch it with English subtitles. It is 91 minutes long, so only 1 minute over an hour and a half, which personally I think is the perfect amount of time for a movie. 90 minutes is the perfect film. Please, can we go back to that? I'm begging! It's available on Amazon Prime, Apple TV as well. So if you want to watch it, that would be where to go. However, when I watched it on a less than reputable website. You can tell by my slight change of outfit and lighting that it is the next day. I deleted the footage of my outro, so I just wanted to record this to say thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope that you discovered some movies you hadn't otherwise watched or heard of, and they'll all be listed down below and where to view them if I could find where to view them. Have a lovely, lovely day. Thank you.